Yeah. Should I start the presentation?
Start, Jasira.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. My name is Siri Raju. I'm a BA honors student who just got done with her second year, and I'm majoring in psychology. I'm a student intern at Mano Jagriti right now for the past month. My presentation is about social media and mental health and why we need to disconnect to reconnect with ourselves. In today's presentation, I will be talking about many different topics, talking about the positive impacts and the negative impacts of social media with mental health, how they're related, and how we can disconnect from them. So, to start, how many times do you think that we check our phone on a daily basis? If you guys have any answers, please put them in the chat box. But on a daily basis, an average person checks their phone 110 times a day, which is an extreme amount. And average screen time statistics also show that we spend our time looking at the screen for multiple hours a day. And a lot of people can't even stay away from their phone for more than 1 hour. So, to understand this, let's first understand what social media is. Social media is a form of internet based communication that allows users to create, share, and exchange ideas. What differentiates it from apps and websites is that here it is more user based, so everybody can put down their opinion and share their opinion on social media platforms. And social media matters a lot today because it is a big part of our daily lives. Looking at some of the statistics here too, like how 5.79 billion people use social media and have user identities around the world, which means that 2 out of 3 people on earth now use social media every month. And Instagram alone has over 2 billion monthly active users. This shows a rise in something called the digital culture, which means that um, social media is creating a culture around our daily lives. It is not only separated to phone or screens, but it also is bleeding into our daily lives outside of screens. Our daily slang that we see in teenagers now comes from social media. The way we talk to each other, values and opinions are being shaped by social media. So, social media should not be looked at as a separate entity from what we are now or outside from community because it is very intertwined with our daily lives. And the latest figures show that 94.7% of the world's users, regardless of age, now use social media, which means that it is a very big part of daily lives in almost 95% of the whole world. So let's start with why social media is addictive in the first place and why so many people are using it on a daily basis. So, social media runs on a dopamine reward system where dopamine is released in small doses every time we scroll on social media. And that can lead to tolerance development, which means that every time we scroll on social media, there's a small dopamine hit that comes to our brain and it stimulates us. And we keep looking for that constant stimulation, which can form a habit and it can slowly start to become addictive. So that's the same way notifications happen with brain stimulation too. So because we are so addicted to social media, every time we look at our phones, every time we get a notification, we become restless to open it. As soon as we have our phone on our table, we can't even focus on what is happening around us or conversations because we're always getting notifications and we're always stimulated, so we need to keep looking up at it. Second is FOMO, which is also fear of missing out. Because there's such a big internet culture, especially for the younger generation, there's a big fear that they are missing out on the latest updates on what is happening. And because of that, even if they don't enjoy social media usage, they will start to use it more, causing the addiction. And they chase validation through likes and through comments. And because of being so often on social media, there's also another issue that comes up, that is social comparison. And because of social comparison, on a daily basis, people keep comparing their livelihoods, their bodies, the way they look, and the way they act with people that they see on social media because they're not aware that everybody is doing an act on social media just to garner views and likes and for validation. So everybody is looking at each other, hoping to be someone that they are not, which can cause a lot of different mental health illnesses in the long run. And this causes infinite scrolling and habit formation, which ties up with addiction. So, social media is not only a negative thing, it has a lot of positive impacts too. And starting of social media was very revolutionary for the internet because it was able to connect people from different corners of the world, and they were able to talk to each other and connect with each other through social media. So, social media is a great way of self expression and creativity. So, for example, with people who feel left out in their houses or in their communities, social media creates an opportunity for those people to find other people like them for self expression and for creativity. So, if you're looking for artists, you can find artists. If you're looking for doctors, you can find doctors and more. So, in that way, it is great for self expression and creativity. It also has a lot of career opportunities and networking opportunities. For example, even for myself, my internship, I can look up the different websites that Manojagriti has to offer. Their YouTube videos, their Instagram pages are all social media run. And because of that, we have access to different ways that different companies I can apply to and different internships I can do. That way, it is great for career opportunities and networking too, and even for educational opportunities. A lot of people who don't have access to schools in their areas, who don't have access to colleges in their areas, can have access to education through social media. There is so much free reading, free textbooks online that so many people who don't have access to education can access. And now it became baseline for so many people to access basic knowledge. And obviously, one of the most important and positive impacts of social media is staying connected with family and friends. In the past, so many people struggled with staying connected with their family and friends. And through social media, on a daily basis, they're able to talk to their loved ones no matter where they are or which country they're staying in. And another positive impact is activism and social change. So, here also, when there's a lot of hatred in specific communities, activism, we can really bring forth social change through social media. So, a lot of protests and a lot of people come out to talk about their experiences on social media, which can be amazing for building support and community online. But with the positive effects, there's a lot of different negative effects that come with it too. So let's look at those. Starting with anxiety, stress, and depression. Overuse of social media can cause anxiety, stress, and depression. And there's a lot of different reasons why. One of them is the pressure to stay updated. This happens especially for younger audiences. When they have early access to social media, they keep looking at everybody, people their age, living lives that they want to live, and that creates immense pressure for them to stay updated at all times. They want to understand all the movies, listen to all the music, but that causes a lot of overstimulation. Um, Social media right now runs on short form videos like Instagram Reels or TikTok content. And because the Instagram Reels and TikTok are such small videos, they're only 15-second clips. Every time you scroll past them, one reel can be happy, one reel can be sad, and one can be confused. And because of that, all of them give you a different emotion to feel, overstimulating your brain because before you even process emotions, you're switching to the next video. These kind of overstimulations can cause major academic and work distractions for people. And because of that, their work life balance goes away and their focus and their attention spans decline, causing issues like anxiety, stress, and depression. Social media has also recently been having a loneliness epidemic. While it creates the idea that it is connecting people, it is actually isolating people because social media talks about connecting one to another online and everywhere. But in the process of connecting other people, we are disconnecting ourselves from our physical communities. So we are disconnecting from family, we're disconnecting from our friends and loved ones. And because of that, it has recently been causing loneliness in a lot of students. And the worst part is that people don't know that it is loneliness because they are feeling understood by social media. And that also causes comparison culture and feeling like they're not enough. So self-esteem issues are being caused because of it. And because of the unrealistic lifestyles that are shown online every day, a lot of people are trying to reach a pedestal that they cannot reach, causing a lot of stress and depression in our generation. So other major issues are addiction and cyberbullying. Addiction is something that I've already spoken about in the previous slides, where because of the dopamine hit that they get, they're constantly chasing that high of that dopamine hit. And because of that, they will never be able to reach that satisfaction they're looking for, and that causes the addiction. And it works the same like any other kind of addiction that we see. They're not able to let go of it. And the issue with this addiction is it is very hard to get over because social media is such a big part of our daily lives. So, we cannot fully remove social media from our lives, and we need to find new ways to work around it and find new solutions to it. A lot of issues with the addiction is that constant doom scrolling, sleep cycle disruption, and reduced productivity. So, reduced productivity we see in everyday life, where when even if we're free for 5 minutes from work, we're immediately opening our phones. And because of that, sleep cycle is disrupted, and doom scrolling can cause us to not understand the concept of time and forgetting what is actually happening around us, which can cause really bad addictions in the future. And cyberbullying. Cyberbullying has a huge effect on self esteem, especially for young girls and boys. When they're at developing stages in their lives, cyberbullying is a major concern because even a little bit of hatred will get to their head because they're already so vulnerable to different opinions. So, hate comments, cancel culture, and emotional trauma will really change their development when they're younger. Isolation. Isolation is what I was talking about with the loneliness epidemic, where there is very less face to face communication and there's an emotional disconnect. So, social media creates an idea that we are understood with the videos that it creates, or even on YouTube or Instagram. But because everyone is such a different entity, it is very hard to be actually understood. And that is why we need human interaction and community. So, when people feel like they're not understood in their physical communities, they go to social media for help. But social media doesn't actually help them. It just positively reinforces their already existing opinions. The difference between social media and why people actually need to go to therapy instead of asking something like ChatGPT for opinions is because a therapist would actually give you what you need to do for help, while ChatGPT would just validate your emotions, making your situation worse. And that is the problem with these people too. They feel like they're understood by social media, but it actually only isolates them even more, creating the alone together phenomenon. Attention span effect. So this is something that we get from doom scrolling because because of so much short form content, there is reduced concentration and multitasking and cognitive overload. So because of social media, there is continuous cognitive overload that we see every day because we are so constantly stimulated. This constant stimulation has also been causing issues like ADHD and mood disorders for children recently because children are supposed to have more patient and calm videos to watch, but while they're watching the short form content, you don't know what they're exposed to, causing a lot of issues in their development. So, this causes a lot of different impacts for many different age groups. And I'm pretty sure all of us have seen the different impacts in our daily lives. So, for children, it is that they have early exposure risks and brain development concerns. When children are really young, we need to be very careful with what they're exposed to and what we put them in front of. So, if you are giving them screens like iPad and giving them internet access, you don't know what they are looking at or what they are exposed to because social media has no restriction to the content that it has. And the early exposure risk can also cause issues like mood disorders and hyperactive attention deficit hyperactive disorders. Because they are so constantly stimulated, they don't know what to do when they are not stimulated. And that is something they've been seeing since they were really young. So it can really cause major developmental concerns when they become teenagers or students or even adults. For teenagers, it is an identity formation problem. One thing is peer pressure, and usually a lot of teenagers face a lot of peer pressure from their physical world, but the social media just adds even more weight and even more pressure to that. And identity formation issues. In teenage girls and teenage boys, especially, we can see a lot of identity formation issues with body image issues and self esteem issues because of social media. They have constant comparison to people their age who are living their so called ideal lives, which is not true. But a lot of teenagers don't understand that when they're in such a vulnerable position. And because of that, it causes issues in their identity formation. And it can also have an academic impact, which will also impact their livelihoods later on because their education is also impacted. Same goes with college students who are also in their late teens. They have a productivity loss, relationship anxiety, and validation culture. Because of social media, they have a constant need to be validated and a constant need to be liked, which causes everyone to be people pleasers at all times. And they're always looking for something that they can impress people with, and they stop caring about themselves even more. And for adults, it's causing a major work life balance issue. Work life balance used to be very different before social media existed because there was a proper difference between work and our personal lives. But now it is so intertwined with social media that it is causing a major imbalance. And the digital distraction is also causing issues in parenting and communicating with friends and family. So, now I'm going to be talking about a few psychological theories that add up to mental health and social media, starting with the social comparison theory. So, the social comparison theory states that people have an innate drive to evaluate their own abilities, opinions, and worth by comparing themselves to others. That's what we see in social media every day. Comparison, social comparison in different apps and different websites. And all of us as human beings have an innate drive to compare ourselves. But social media creates that to an extreme. So, in this theory, there's something called the upward comparison, which talks about comparing ourselves to someone who are better in a certain area. And that in certain points can provide motivation for self improvement, but it can also lower self esteem. Because social media has such an extreme form of comparison, it can cause lower self esteem for a lot of people. Second, the second theory is Maslow's need for belonging, taken from Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is the third level of his hierarchy of needs, which is love or belonging. It talks about interpersonal relationships and acceptance and emotional connection, and how our physiological safety and mental safety includes giving or receiving affection and feeling part of groups. So, in group and out group is very important, and social media makes that difference. Lastly, the self esteem theory, which is a major theory when it comes to social media. So, I'm talking about Rosenberg's self esteem theory, where he talks about self esteem as a stable positive or negative attitude towards ourselves and our overall self worth. So, here he has, under his different types of self esteems, there is one called social perspective, where he talks about self esteem being developed in the context of society with self concept growing from social feedback and adaptation. So, here, humans thrive with social feedback and we also grow with social feedback. In the past, we used to have opinions from our community, from our family and our friends, and that social feedback was what gave us our values and our ideas for the future. But now, because of the use of social media, social feedback also comes from social media, which can be extremely negative in a lot of cases, causing very low self esteem for a lot of people. So, now that we talked about all the different negative effects of social media, I want to talk about how we separate and reconnect with our lives, starting with the digital detox. So, digital detox is a very basic concept, which is limiting screen time. And we've been hearing this for a very long time, to limit our screen time. But it sounds easier than it actually is. Limiting screen time can be very hard to do if we are all employed individuals and we have family and friends, because we want to stay connected to our family and friends. We'll want to talk to them. And not only that, but if we get any work calls or if we have to get any work messages, we always need to have our phone beside us. So, because of that, even though people say keep your phone away from you, it's not as easy as they say it is. So I would like to have a more mindful and easier approach towards it, which is more conscious consumption. So, which constant consumption doesn't fully ban you from using social media, but instead it just asks people to post less about their lives and to live more about them. So, it doesn't fully stop them from using social media, but we just need to be more mindful and aware of what we're posting and what we're putting out so that it we make sure that we don't fall into the loop of wanting constant validation from the people around us. It is always quality over quantity online, and we see that in social media a lot quantity is prioritized, and we should make sure that we prioritize quality. And the next one is the Pomodoro technique. So the Pomodoro technique is a popular time management technique developed by Francesco Cirillo in the late 1980s. And he basically talks about this different way to boost productivity. So here he talks about breaking any kind of work that we're doing into 25-minute intervals, which he calls Pomodoros. So every 25 minutes, even if we need to study or even if we're on our phone, you take a 5-minute break after 25 minutes of high focus interval. So we can fragment our screen time using the Pomodoro technique. For example, a lot of times when we're studying or doing work, we easily get distracted by our phone. One thing that we can do is use a Pomodoro technique where you study for 25 minutes and you give yourself only a 5-minute interval to have access to your phone, and the other 25 minutes you stay away from it. So that while you're not on your phone, your whole attention is on something else. Next is obviously having more healthy habits on social media. One thing is curating feeds because it is very hard to get out of social media, and when you're a teenager or even when you're in your 30s or 40s, it is very important to stay relevant, and we see that social media is a very big part of our daily conversation. So curating feeds is very important. Instead of completely removing ourselves from social media, we can try to control what we are having access to online. So, to make sure that we're looking at only positive content and to make sure that we're not looking at negative or hate speech content. So, a lot of times, a lot of content that we see can be negative, it can be hate, and it can really affect moods for a lot of people. So, if we choose what content that we are consuming and make sure that it is all positive and make sure that it is good content that makes us feel better, then it will definitely help us mentally. Next is turning off notifications. So we don't have to turn off notifications for all the apps. For work apps, we can leave them on. But for apps like Instagram and YouTube, there are things that we don't you need to use for work, and there are things that we don't need. It is better to turn off notifications in those kind of apps because then we're not constantly distracted and we can actually focus on what matters. So, reconnecting with our lives. Now that we saw how to detox social media, we should also learn how to reconnect with our lives away from social media. Spending time with family and friends. This is a very basic, very easy idea to understand. So, doing outdoor activities, hobbies, and mindfulness. We have seen that a lot of times, even I recently, when I was in school during COVID, have switched out my hobbies to just watch movies and YouTube videos. And recently, I've been getting back into hobbies like sewing or hobbies like painting. And it is really important for hobbies to help increase our attention span and just increase our mood in general too. We use art in therapy, and art and many different hobbies. Developing any kind of hobby can be really helpful in getting out of our social media addictions. And just to be mindful of what we're consuming is very important to reconnect with our daily lives. So, what are the key takeaways from this today? So, I just wanted to talk about how social media in this presentation, I don't want to talk about how social media is bad. I want to talk about how social media is a tool and it is not really our enemy. It is just something that we didn't figure out how to use properly. And over time, I think we need to figure out how to work around social media because it is already such a major part of our lives. We can never fully get out of it. So we just need to learn how to work around it. So, balance is very necessary here. And mental health should always come before online validation. So we should always make sure that we take care of our mental health before we actually take care of our social media personas. To reconnect with yourself and your real life relationships before we reconnect with our online relationships. And we are more connected than ever right now, but so many people feel more alone than ever. And one of the reasons behind that is social media, and we really need to change that. Thank you. So, I just wanted to talk about my journey with Manojagriti before this ends. I am a student intern here, and I've had a really great time spending my last 1 month here. So many experiences about psychology and mental health I have had through this internship. I learned how counseling works, and just looking at Geeta ma'am work in the office was really helpful for me to understand counseling centers, and has been a really helpful internship. So I really want to thank Manojagriti for the opportunity that I got today. Thank you. If there's any questions, please go ahead and ask them. Thank you, sir.
Wait, ma'am is logging in.
Yeah.
Good evening, all of you,
Good evening.
and good job. So, series presentation is done, if I'm right. Hmm?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Can I listen from the participants? What is your three takeaways from today's session? One of you, please. What is your takeaway? Three takeaways from this session. Yes, please. I have all my students. Anybody? Archana, Hemant, Niharika, Radhika, all of you. ఏం నేర్చుకున్నారు ఎవరైనా చెప్పొచ్చు తెలుగులో కూడా చెప్పొచ్చు ఇంగ్లీష్ లో కూడా చెప్పొచ్చు మీకు ఈ సెషన్ నుంచి మీరు ఏం తీసుకున్నారు
Good evening, ma'am.
yes good evening
Ma'am, this is Swapna here. Hello.
yes స్వప్న చెప్పండి
Ma'am, very good evening. So, to takeaways from me, like we have already been trying to practice, but from today, maybe I will practice this digital detox, which Siri ma'am just mentioned. Like spending a lot of quality time, being a vacation. So, spending a lot of quality time with my family, especially with my younger one. That is one I would like to take it seriously. Second, turning off the notifications. Very
Mhm.
important. Every time that ping sound comes and we are alert. So this is one good thing which I will take it as a learning from today's session, ma'am.
Very good, very good. And application is very important.
Yes, yes. Practice
Learning is
very important. Yes, yes.
practice is
Application,
very
you yes, very important, ma'am. Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. We know that spending family time is important, but again, and Siri ma'am also mentioned that however hard we try to be away, keep this phone away, but everything is on phone only. For everything we are dependent on phone, maybe WhatsApp or any information, maybe a
Mm,
reminder. So we are
mm,
indirectly getting into the trap. So maybe we will fix up some timetable. So for this
mm,
duration there will not be any
mm,
screen time. I'm not going to touch phone. Yes, as you mentioned, implementation is very important, so it should be practiced and I'll try to make it.
mm. Very good, very good,
Thank you,
very
thank you
good,
so much.
very good. And you use one word trap. Very nice, very good input you have given. It's a trap. We are getting into trap. So
Yes, ma'am.
unknowingly, we want to do something and we get into something,
Yes, yes,
right?
ma'am. True.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Initially, we don't think, we don't want to actually continue, but unknowingly we continue. Good, good, good.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any others? Any other very nicely illustrated by Swapna? Anybody? Someone, one question. Sri, you can read the question for me. There is a question in the chat box.
Yeah, the question is how much of research publication should happen in India to ban usage of social media by children as done by Finland? It is not behavioral sciences associated persons keep talking about it. How to
Mm.
reach out to the masses on the same? Just a helpless thought. How can we all work?
Yes. Who is this? Who sent a question?
It is Dr. Rajeswari Rayadu, ma'am.
Okay. So, Rajeshwari Garu, uh, what is your suggestion? Just as a layman, you can talk, not as a professional. As a layman, you tell me what can be done.
No, how can a person self-impose when they see all their peers continuously on the phone? They think they are out of the
Mm,
context,
mm,
out of the
mm,
box. It's not out of the box, out of the, they
mm.
feel they are something peculiar person, you know. So
Correct.
they are not able to influence the ones who, see, I have my own, self control. I know how to do. But how do you ensure the ones in my own family do it? I can't even go out. How do
Mm,
I ensure? It's each individual who has to do. It's not that one person who has done behavioral sciences. We are all only talking about it. How the others will get to know about it. See, rules, imposing rules and regulations will not work unless,
mm,
with this population of India, I don't know what's going to happen to India with so many
mm.
of us doing this.
Right.
No,
So,
it's a
as you
concern. I
say,
have no,
correct. Correct.
so much of concern going on with
Mm,
me. It's a helpless thought. So what
mm.
we all can do? It's the government. I know it's this nothing. I don't know.
Okay. Okay. Okay, Rajeshwar garu. So, one thing, let us talk about, let us think in two circles. There are two circles in life. Actually, three, but let us take through two. One is control circle and one is influence circle. Control circle is something you can do, which is in your control. And influence circle is something which someone else should do. So now, what I generally, educate my counselors is, let us focus on control circle. All of us, don't feel helpless. Don't feel helpless. First thing, when you say helpless, you're already accepting that nothing can be done. So if every one of us think what I can do, which is in my control, to educate someone. So there are two things. One is you focusing on the control circle and trying to do something. But there is another hidden, one more thing need to be focused is how to influence or what to do. So what I suggest is we professionals, we behavioral science professionals or psychologists, we should educate the people to educate others. So you should give the strategies how a mother can educate her children, or you should educate a teacher how she can talk to her school students. So if you are able to do this role, automatically it will go. But as you mentioned, everybody is thinking that government should do or someone should come and do. वो नहीं होता. नहीं होता नहीं हो जाएगा, but it will take some time. We don't know. But what you can do as a professional, what you can do individually, if you can print posters and distribute for 100 schools, that's a huge action you're taking. Or you create a poster and send it across online and ask other to post it in the status or their Instagram. 5 ill effects of watching reels. Very simple poster. 5 ill effects of watching reels continuously. And send the poster across. We never know. I'll tell you one story and conclude. There was a boy who was walking in the in the seashore, and he was he was trying to catch the starfish, one starfish, and then putting in the sea again. And he was doing, and the starfishes are coming. He's doing, and starfishes are coming. Then the old man came and asked, "How far you will do? Every time the waves are coming, starfishes will come into the into the this thing sand. So how much you will do? How far you can do it?" So the child answered, "If I'm able to make a difference in one life, that's sufficient for me. I will do. If I'm able to save one, that's okay for me." So let us think in these lines. If you are able to influence, if you are able to educate one person, that's enough. So this series, very young and dynamic budding psychologist initiative to, or thought to talk about digital detox, is appreciable. So now she spoke to a handful of people today, and you people will take this message to 100 people, and 100 will take it to 1,000. So that's how messages go. So this 1 month of May series, the main objective is to do what we can do, what is in our control. Yeah. So good job, Siri.
Thank you,
Good
ma'am.
topic, and really required. Really required. So thank you so much, and I think we can continue concluding the session, and we'll be back tomorrow with again one more interesting topic. Thank you all of you for joining us. And if you have any questions or anything, you can always post. మీరు ఏమైనా ప్రశ్నలు ఉంటే గ్రూప్ లో పోస్ట్ చేయండి, జవాబులు ఇవ్వడం జరుగుతాయి. ఓకే, థ్యాంక్ యూ, బై, హ్యావ్ ఎ గుడ్
Thank
డే.
you,
ఓవర్
ma'am.
టు సిరి.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone, for being there and watching my presentation. I'm very lucky to have an audience. So, thank you, everyone, for this opportunity.